What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is Balls and Bros, episode 2, and we are, let me read off this list. We are now live, if you want to, and live meaning like we're on that platform. So if you want to watch this show in its entirety, video form, YouTube, Balls and Bros. If you want to listen to it podcast-wise, you can listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcast, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Pandora, or Google Podcasts.
If you know of a streaming site, we're on there.
Also Apple Podcasts. So that's the last one. But yeah, we're on all those. So only place to get video, however, is YouTube. All the other ones are audio only. So if you don't want to see our beautiful faces, go to the different various streaming services. But Casino, we had our first football game tonight, or I guess last night. So before we talk about it, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I slept good. Got to watch some football. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. First game of the NFL season. We have the Buffalo Bills in Los Angeles beating the Los Angeles Rams 31-10, even though the score at halftime was 10-10 and felt. But I guess this is where I first want to start, is when the game was 10-10 going into halftime, it didn't even feel like it was close. No. It felt like the Bills were just annihilating them, and somehow it was 10-10.
Yeah, it was such a turnover heavy game. But the 10-10, if you just were walking by and you saw the screen, oh, that's a good game. It was domination from the Bills from start to finish. It was not even close.
Well, and Von Miller, who you last episode said is already over the hill, if I remember correctly what you said.
I did. Yeah.
4 tackles, 2 sacks, and he had like 5 quarterback hits in that game. Like, he was just an absolute monster.
Yeah. It's 4 tackles, 2 sacks. Yeah, he was an animal. So I did say this, though. I did say going into a new team could also spark players to revitalize themselves. But no, he definitely shut me up on that one.
Well, we also said
looked really good too. But
yeah, we also said that he is gonna have games where he just has Von Miller games. And start of the season, he hasn't had to. This isn't week 12 where you have where your body's getting beat up and all that kind of stuff. This is him coming in fresh legs, first game of the season. And yeah, he had a Von Miller game.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with how he got through, especially that little dance that he did. And he looked like old Von Miller there doing. I even think the commentary said that same thing on the air.
Yeah, he definitely, that Bills defense was absolutely like lights out. The Rams defense, on the other hand, kind of got pushed around a little. Maybe that's the most surprising thing is, Josh Allen just ran all over them. He was stiff-arming people. He was knocking people back.
He was their number one rusher too. Josh Allen was. He had 10 attempts for 56 yards. Averaging 5.6 a yard. The guy's a beast.
Well, then even their second leading rusher, Devin Singletary, he still had 8 carries for 48 yards, and that's a 6-point average. So I don't know why the Bills weren't running enough, but maybe weren't running more, but maybe they just chose not to run more because their passing game was just, this is a crazy stat right here. So I looked this up. Jalen Ramsey last night, the Rams' number 1 cornerback on the Bills' number 1 wide receiver, allowed a perfect passer rating of 158.3. He was targeted 7 times, allowed 6 receptions for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's probably why they didn't rush more, because they didn't need to. We obviously know how great Jalen Ramsey has been in the past, but he got absolutely annihilated last night.
And you say in the past, but if you go back to last year's playoffs, it was kind of turning heads on, okay, he's not Jalen Ramsey of why he got paid.
Yep.
There's a lot of questions in that, like, oh, he's burnt out at the end of the season, wait till next season kind of thing. Well, first game in, he's got absolutely smoked. And then just kind of touching on Josh Allen's, you're saying the passing game, they didn't really need to rush it. He went 26 for 31, but with 3 interceptions. I mean, the
Or
guy was
two interceptions.
He had 2. Oh yes, 2 interceptions.
2 interceptions, 3 touchdowns.
Stafford had the 3 interceptions, but that's impressive numbers.
Well, and that one of those INTs, the first one he had was literally like, that one wasn't his fault. It just like, is that the one where it went into his guy's arm and then the guy grabbed it out of his arm while he's falling? Yeah. So that you can't put on him because he put it right in his guy's chest. Like, so you have him with basically 3 touchdowns. The other interception was his fault. So you have basically 3 touchdowns, 1 INT, and 300 yards on what everyone coming into the season thought would be a top 3 defense. Like,
yeah,
you can't do better than that. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was pretty impressive. And then, touching on that defense again, just trying to flip the script over to why Stafford has such a hard time. He went 29 for 41 with the 3 interceptions, but he was pressured like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things, I don't know if we really talked about it in the first episode, but one of the crazy things is, or one of the things that everybody was going to look at was that decent defensive front from the Bills. You may have touched it when we were talking about Von Miller, but getting to Matt Stafford and that offensive line, and it showed. They got to him.
Yeah,
we said 7 sacks. He forced him 3 interceptions.
And that one too, he was trying to get to Cooper Kupp that just was like 2 feet over his head and barely touched his hands. It just went right into the Bills guy. Like, those are because you could tell, like, they showed the replay and you saw that Matt Stafford wasn't even looking at him. He was kind of trying to do that no look pass or whatever. And I just feel like in those situations, like, why are you trying to do that in a game where, especially at that moment where it's like, all right, like, this game's starting to get ahead of us. Like, why are you trying to just play like the backyard football? Like, let me try this out thing. Like, that feels like you should only be doing that in blowouts where you're just like, it doesn't matter. Like, why are you trying to do the no look schoolyard pass when you're getting your ass kicked by probably one of the best teams in the AFC? Like,
yeah, that I don't know. I've never been a fan of that kind of slinging of the football where you're just, as you said, schoolyard slinging. It doesn't make sense to me. Either protect the ball, get rid of the ball. Don't try to throw it up. It just doesn't work out. And a lot of rookie quarterbacks typically have that issue, is they'll try to make the play to make themselves look better. Like, oh, look what I can try to do. And it doesn't work out for them.
Well, I also think in today's NFL, like, we give Patrick Mahomes too much credit when he does those things, even though most of the times when he does it, it's kind of like a dumb play. And it just like happens to work out, like, not the sidearms or the, where he's just trying to make something happen, but like the no look, like, passes or whatever, like, those are always like kind of cool. But then when you think about it, you're just like, that's kind of dumb in retrospect. Like, I know you're trying to throw off the defenders, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like Bush League. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Stafford's arm and, is it still injured? But I mean, yeah, he has his surgery on it, but and he might not be 100%, but he wasn't 100% last year and he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The kid's a tough kid. So I don't know how much plays into that. If his arm wasn't top tier, but just something to think about.
Also, if his arm is really banged up, because we talked about that on the last episode, like, there's rumors that he has a lingering arm injury and all that stuff. If he does, and those rumors are true, why is he throwing the ball 41 times the first game of the season? And they only rushed it 18 times. So, and I mean, so I guess my last question in kind of this realm thing is, obviously it's the first game, week 1. Always when it's a separate game in week 1, you always overanalyze it, right? Because there's no other games going on. That's the one game everybody watched. So this is obviously overreaction Friday, and everybody's going to be
Rams
having their
done. Rams are going to go.
Yeah.
Oh, for 17. Like,
yeah. everybody.
They're horrible.
But so do you have any overreactions coming out of this game that you feel will be warranted or justified as the rest of the season goes on? Because obviously, like, you make jokes about it, but there are people being like, the Rams are done. And it's like, all right, calm down. Like, they still are going to play. They played one of the, if not the best team in the AFC, like, and they got their ass kicked. They're not playing the Bills every week. Like,
right. Exactly. And there's going to be tons of overreaction to this. I mean, that's sports radio. We want something to talk about. There's going to be tons of overreaction. I personally don't think that there's going to be any issue. Yeah, they need to work on a few things. Definitely work on their offensive front line there, so Stafford doesn't get sacked 7 times. But yeah, I don't really see there going to be much of an issue. I mean, just look at the division that they're in, and just the whole NFC in a whole, as we talked last week, they're not as good as the AFC by any stretch. So the Rams are still going to be good. They're still going to work some things out, but it's tough to go against. I mean, the Bills, we all thought about it. I even quoted them picked them as my Super Bowl pick, and they came out and they showed why they are going into the season as a Super Bowl favorites this year. It was almost a perfect game.
Yeah.
On every front. Yeah, there was the turnovers there, but as you said, that first one doesn't really even feel like his. But even if you take that, you just take those 2 interceptions away, and he still had that. He still had that really good passing to completion ratio. Also
he had that. The last thing on the Jalen Ramsey thing that you were talking about, where people were talking about him last year's playoffs, he had another 50 plus bomb he gave up to Diggs, where it was like, who is he covering? What is he doing? He literally lets Diggs run right past him.
I don't know if he was expecting the free safety to come back to him, but like he didn't follow him. He didn't follow him. Like, that is their number one option. I mean, Diggs was. How many times was he here? He was targeted 9 times for 8 receptions. Like, that was Josh Allen's number one target.
Was going into the game. Like, they knew he was going to be the number one target. So to leave him, like, to let him get that many things, I mean, receptions, but also the Rams, like, my overreaction is on first off, Cam Akers was supposed to be their big running back or whatever. He carried the ball only 3 times for 0 yards. So I don't know. He was injured most of last season. He came back at the end of the year. He also carried the ball like 5 times for like 8 yards. Like, I don't know when they just give up on Cam Akers and just say, like, he just doesn't have it. But my I guess, overreaction that I may be concerned about for the season is the Rams offense. We saw this in the Super Bowl. We kind of saw it in the other playoff games as well. Like, it's Cooper Kupp, and then it is you throw your hands up in the air. Like, who's going to step up this week? Because Cooper Kupp in this game, 13 receptions, 128 yards, 1 touchdown. Closest next person was the tight end, Tyler Higbee, with 5 receptions, 39 yards. And then the big acquisition on offense they had this offseason to replace, the injured OBJ was Allen Robinson, who had 1 reception for 12 yards and was targeted like twice. 3 times, twice in the game.
Twice.
And it was just like, he was the Bears' number 1 wide receiver. He was supposed to come in, give the Rams this big upgrade on offense. I know when we were doing the previews, we talked about how now the Rams, you get somebody who is as productive as OBJ, but can stay in the game longer, can be playing more games because he's not injury prone like OBJ is. Well, now my overreaction is I'd rather have fucking OBJ for 8 games if the games Allen Robinson I get is going to be 1 for 12. Like, he's not playing against the number 1. He's not playing against a Jalen Ramsey-esque corner. Like, the Rams have good corners, but I thought Allen Robinson, last year he was a top 20 wide receiver in the league. Like, and he just it wasn't that he wasn't targeted or wasn't on the field. He was on the field the whole game. He was just not getting open. Like, that's concerning to me for a season long, you know, thing that I hope I get proven wrong on, because I drafted Allen Robinson in most of my fantasy leagues. So this is more personal. I am angry that, he's just did nothing.
Somehow in a 12-man league, I was able to get Kupp and Diggs. So I'm feeling pretty okay here. But just to touch on the second best receiving option was Higbee, and he was targeted 11 for only 5 catches though. And then it does not add up. It was the Cooper Kupp show, make or break it. And I mean, no matter how many times, he 13 receptions for 128 yards.
How many times is he targeted?
15.
See, like that, the thing about Cooper Kupp is everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows they should cover him. They just can't. Like, every pass to him from Stafford, he's just wide open. That guy's he's incredible.
Well, it's pretty easy to do when you have Ramsey falling over himself and not paying attention.
Speaking on Ramsey and allowing that deep pass to Diggs, Jalen Ramsey has allowed a touchdown in 4 of his last 6 games, including playoffs. Ramsey had gone the previous 65 games without allowing a single one. So he went from 65 games not allowing a single deep touchdown to a touchdown in 4 of his last 6 games. So that's what I
was saying. Going into last playoffs, just something's off. Something's off for him, and I hope. They thought, sorry to cut you off, but I thought they were going to come in this year and he was going to be, Jalen of old, but man, he got burnt. That is probably about 80% of what I've seen about this game is just how bad Ramsey got destroyed. Not how good the Bills are or anything like that. It's how bad Ramsey got burned that game.
Well, we've seen this, especially with cornerbacks, where it's like, you remember Darrelle Revis, and he had Revis Island, and then it went from one season where nobody catches anything on him to the next season. It's just like, okay, well, Darrelle Revis is done. Now everybody's lighting him up, and then he's just out of the league. Like, it just happens so fast for cornerbacks where they're just locked down, and then they either lose a step, they get older, something happens.
One step in that position, you're done. Your career is over, or just not as good. He might have a job over for the with the Texans or something, but right now playing for the Rams, he needs to step it up, because if they want to be the Super Bowl contender coming out of the NFC, he needs to get that step back. I don't know what it needs to take, but he needs to get that step back.
My last 2 overreactions for this game are 1 Bills, 1 Rams. The Bills I think this is, I felt this before the season. This episode just kind of solidifies that, or this game, I mean. Josh Allen, if he doesn't win MVP this season, I feel like it's because something either injury prone or like terrible happened, right? Like, he's on track to be MVP, right? Like,
and then just talking about Jalen Ramsey from last playoffs, Josh Allen hasn't skipped a beat from last year's playoffs. I mean, the numbers that he had in the playoffs, the fact that they did not win the Super Bowl last year was insane to me. But you're right. If this guy does not win the MVP this year, I have no idea what's going on. He's on track. Obviously, you would have to say, as you said, injury, something crazy to happen. But just even if he has half, he has half of what he just produced, like every other game, you're still in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, unless somebody comes out of nowhere, like that year Lamar won it and everybody was like, I didn't see this coming. Like, somebody has like a crazy season like that. Like, he looks MVP bound. And then my last overreaction for the Rams is, I remember saying this in the preview show. I said, I didn't think my Eagles could beat this Rams team. I think my Eagles might be able to beat this Rams team. Like, I mean, you let Cooper Kupp cook, and then everything else, we talked about it. You stop the run. The Rams don't look like they have a great running offense. I mean, they never really did. Last year, they kind of just got by, but they didn't really have a running game that scared you. They apparently don't have anybody but Cooper Kupp. if we're, again, overreacting to just this one game. And then you can get to Stafford, you can hit him, you can force those turnovers. He had the most turnovers last year in terms of interceptions. This year, he's right back on that pace. So I don't know. I feel like this just made, like, this did two swings of the pendulum, right? Which is the AFC, it looks like what everybody predicted at the beginning of the season. This is the Bills conference to lose, right? Like, they're the top of the AFC. Everybody has to go through them, like, in terms of just potential. And then the Rams, I feel like it put them down, where it's just like, maybe the NFC is more open than we thought, because we all thought the Rams were the clear-cut favorite in the NFC, and last night they looked vulnerable.
100%. Oh man. So there, I just want to touch on this one last thing, probably about this game, unless you want to talk more. There's a stat here that I saw about Josh Allen. He is now 7 games. He's now in third in NFL history where he's done at least 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, putting him in third place. The only people ahead of him is Drew Brees has 9, Tom Brady has 8. Jeez. And you got to think of how long those guys' careers were. And he's already 1 game behind Brees, 2 games behind Brady, 3 to take the lead for rushing, and 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown.
He'll probably do that this season.
It's going to be, especially against, I guarantee you, mostly the division that he's in. I not trying to talk up my team, but I think that would be tough with like a Bill Belichick style defense or all those other really great defenses out there. But he plays a lot of weak defenses throughout this league. I really think that he can hit that stat by the end of this season. And how many years is this for him? 4?
I believe it's his 4th, 5th. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's impressive. A quarterback that can do it on both. And it's not just like Lamar Jackson where he's out there running it or, being a pocket quarterback. He's doing it on both sides. I would be absolutely shocked.
This is his 5th season. So this is his 5th season. But yeah, I mean, you look at his stats from, his first 2 years in the league, even by his 2nd year in the league, he had 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But the last 3, he had 37 touchdowns, 10 INTs. Last year, he had 36 touchdowns, 15 INTs. And now he's starting the season with 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs. So yeah, and his completion percentage last night was 84%, like 83.9. Like,
yeah, as I was saying, you take away those 2 interceptions and he's damn near perfect.
Yeah. Jeez.
And he spread the ball around. He had seven different targets. It's not like he was just throwing to Diggs. So
it's not like the Cooper Kupp thing where he just had one guy. Situation. Yeah.
Yeah. He was all over the board there. Where's 9 to Diggs, 5 to Davis, 4 to Crowder, 6 to Moss. Like, he was all over with everybody. Everybody at least had 2 attempts towards them.
Man. And that Gabe Davis or whatever, like, man, that guy, he just looked like he was what I was hoping Allen Robinson would be for the Rams. Like, when Diggs was covered, he was coming across the middle. He got that touchdown early on. Like, I'm glad I drafted him on most of my fantasy teams. Yeah, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 88 yards, averaging 22 yards. Like, yeah, he had that big one in the first quarter or whatever. He got the first touchdown, didn't he? I believe it was him. Yeah.
It was Davis.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah,
all right. Fun. So, yeah, NFL football's back. Now let's get to our predictions for the games on Sunday. And I'm just going in the order they have them up here. So the first game they have is Eagles at Lions, which, of course, my team is the Eagles. And this might shock you. I think the Eagles might start the season 0-2 and then kind of course correct from there. So I could actually see a scenario where they're losing this game. I think the Lions are going to be much better than they were last year. They're going to be coming off this, like, kind of Dan Campbell, Hard Knocks. You saw the passion. of that team. I think they just might be so juiced up that they might surprise the Eagles and then get like I don't think it'll be a blowout or anything like that, but I think they might steal a victory here with like a last second field goal or something like that.
All right. I don't. I still think the Eagles win this game.
That's what I think, not what I hope.
Okay. Detroit's definitely better, but they're not. I mean, you're saying that the Eagles, what you think that they are this season, can beat what you saw last night with the Rams. So you're pretty much saying Detroit could beat the Rams last night.
No, because it's a full season. And again, I think just how the schedule is lining up, I don't like them going to Detroit to play the Lions, because I think the Lions are going to be a dangerous team this season in teams not expecting, like them to actually be a formidable team and then getting punched in the mouth and being like, what the hell? And then losing to the Lions, kind of like how last year the Lions were, like we talked about on the preview show, the Lions were so close to a bunch of like teams where it was just like, how are the Lions, tied with, didn't they like destroy Arizona like last year when everybody was like, Arizona's the number one team in the league or whatever? Recall. Like, yeah. So I just think, and then to skip ahead to the second week, the Eagles are playing the Vikings on Monday night, and Kirk Cousins has just always owned them. But Kirk Cousins has also always sucked in primetime games. So that's going to be a weird, which side of that coin, do we see happen? But yeah, so next game we have to go on from that one. I'm picking the Lions, surprisingly. You're picking the Eagles. We have the 49ers and the Bears. So this will be the first official Trey Lance game. How do you think that's going to work out for him against a Bears team that many predict to be maybe the worst team in the league, tied there with Seattle and the Falcons and that kind of mix right there?
You know what? I think that he's going to do very well, but the only concerning spot is it's the weather. The weather is supposed to be a rainy day, and even the best quarterbacks have trouble with rain. So we shall see there, but I still think that San Fran kind of takes this with ease. Currently they are at a -7 for the win. But again, rain. It's not going to be all up to Trey Lance here. So you never know what's gonna happen with that. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think we will, especially with you saying the weather like that, and we're having the West Coast team go to kind of like the East Coast, Midwest, kind of, wherever you consider Chicago to be. But I think in terms of, we always hear like, oh, West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast. I think that's a myth that's been busted a long time ago. Like, I don't think it matters anymore, especially with how these multi-billion-dollar franchises like travel. So that's not even a talking point. But I know when you look at lines like that, you get like a 1 point for, the West Coast going to the East Coast. But I just think even if Trey Lance struggles, I just think how the hell are the Bears going to score on this defense? How are they going to stop Deebo Samuel? How are they going to stop just this 49ers offense, even if Trey Lance isn't, everything we thought he would be? And I just think there's way too many people buying into the Bears offense after we saw the Justin Fields last preseason game where he like lit it up and had like a perfect passer rating. And it's just like, yeah, but it was the third preseason game. Like, he was playing against people who aren't like going to even make the team. So I just think
squad plus.
I just think it's the 49ers. And I think this is candidate of the week for biggest blowout. Like, do you see this being competitive at all?
I don't. I don't see it competitive at all.
Yeah. I also think this is a game where unless you're a 49ers fan, or unless you're a Bears fan with some optimism, like, who the hell is watching this game? Like, But next up, we have the Steelers versus the Bengals. The Steelers being led by Mitch Trubisky. speaking of Bears former quarterbacks, obviously Joe Burrow and that Steelers defense coming in I believe top 3 from last year. Bengals obviously runner up to the Super Bowl. So it's going to be in Cincinnati. Who do you got for this one, Casino?
I still have Cincinnati coming out on top. I don't know. I don't have any trust really in Trubisky to do well. We talked about it last episode, that why do they have him in there in the first place? I mean, they should be giving the other guy. It's Pickett, right?
Yeah, dude, they're not even Pickett's the 3rd string quarterback. They have him behind who's the other guy? The guy that got beat with the helmet by Myles Garrett. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't see there really any chance in Cincinnati. I think Burrow, Chase, they're just going to light up Pittsburgh. I don't really see there being much of a challenge for the Bengals on that front.
Well, the challenge, I just think it's going to be what a lot of we're going to talk about in these games, which is I don't know how the Steelers are going to be scoring touchdowns. They obviously have Najee Harris. They have the Piedman, the tight end. And then the Steelers always have good wide receivers, right? Even though they lost Juju Smith-Schuster. Obviously, they had all that stuff with Antonio Brown, but they always find just like diamonds in the rough. I think it's DeAndre Johnson is going to be their number 1 wide receiver. So they have people on offense, but can the quarterback get the ball to them when your quarterback is Mitch Trubisky, especially against a Bengals defense that, like we talked about on the preview show, only got better. The offense of the Bengals only got better. They didn't lose anybody. They're running it back. And will this Bengals team come out hungry with something to prove? Because like you said earlier, everybody is picking the Bills in the AFC. We're picking the Bills in the AFC. Do the Bengals be like, we got to the Super Bowl and nobody believes us? Like, is that enough of a chip on their shoulder to just project them to the best AFC team? Like,
no, I do think they have a big chip on their shoulder. I think everybody thought last year was a fluke, which I don't. That team is really good. It's young. And I think a lot of people thought it was a fluke because they were a young team. Oh, they just had a season. Can they any other team have this crazy run that the early Bengals did? And I'm like, they're good. They're good. It's not a fluke. No. At least to my eyes, it's not a fluke. And yeah, this one I think is a no contest at all.
They could easily have the number 1 offense in the league. You have T. Higgins. You have oh fuck, how am I blanking on his name? T. Higgins and who's the other wide receiver?
Tyler Boyd.
No, the God damn it,
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Thank you. So they have Jamar Chase on one side. They have T. Higgins on the other. They have Joe Mixon, and then they have obviously Joe Burrow. And it's just like that could easily be top 5 rusher in the league, the best wide receiver duo in the league. And then Joe Burrow last year proved he can be the number 1 quarterback in the league. You know, when at least on the AFC side, everybody talks about Josh Allen, everybody talks about Patrick Mahomes, but how far is Joe Burrow really from those two? Like, he doesn't feel that far off. Like,
no.
But so I think we're both picking, despite the Steelers having a great defense, I think we're both picking the Bengals. So next up, your team, the Patriots at the Dolphins. So will this be the Dolphins' fluky win against the Patriots they have every year, or do you think that's their second matchup?
I think that's the second matchup. This year we took a different approach, or I say we, I'm still in that, but I think the Patriots take a different approach this year. They did. They actually got down to Miami early to try to get acclimated to the weather. I still don't know if that'll be enough. This is going to be kind of dictating the season for both of these teams, mainly for the Patriots. If we could get past this game, okay, we might have a shot to come out second in this division. And then if we don't win this game, it's kind of looking where you were thinking, just being above the Jets, under the Dolphins. And I think the game one, I mean, it always is, season, you kind of have that feel of like a lot of people have the overreaction and teams feed off of that. But I think this is a big game for them. Yes, we had many years where we've gone 0-2, but a couple of times with the Super Bowl 0-2 coming back, win the Super Bowl. But it's different. We have the rookie Mac Jones. We don't have Tom Brady. We don't have McDaniels. So starting off slow is not really an option, I think, this time around. But so this is going to be a tough one for them. It's only, I think, -3 is where I saw it last, or 3-5. It's going to be a tough season for a tough first game for the Pats here. I would actually take the Dolphins just because of the track record, being down in Miami. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope getting down there early actually changed, helped with acclimating to that weather, and Patriots can actually make it a game. But I still would pick the Dolphins currently.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you with everything you said. I think the number one concern for, obviously, if you're a Patriots fan, is what is this offense going to look like, right? The Dolphins have a kind of middle of the road defense. They got it better towards the end of the year last year. They obviously can put pressure on, Mac Jones, but it's just like when that pressure comes, who does he throw it to? Like, who are his options? Who are we seeing that, can step up for the Patriots? You guys lost N'Keal Henry.
Harry, we got rid of that guy. There's not really too many options out there right now for him to throw to. I mean, we got your old guy. We got Nelson.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
He didn't really show too much for us. Our biggest stars are definitely going to be Kendrick Bourne. And also, I mean, Jacoby Myers has got a little injury right now. I actually haven't looked to see if he's going to be starting or not. But then, I mean, our number one guy that we have was we picked up Parker, and he was tossed to the curb like he was just trash. So we shall see how that turns out.
And then the big question mark for the Dolphins is, how will this is the third year for Tua? Like, this is the make or break year. They went out, they got him weapons. He obviously has one of the most explosive wide receivers in the league. We talked about in the previous episode how all those videos were coming out of camp where he's underthrowing deep balls, even though that was never really Tyreek's specialty in Kansas City. He always made his big long receptions on bubble screens and slants that he just took to the house. So it's weird they're trying to incorporate a quarterback who doesn't have a cannon of an arm in, like, just trying to throw it deep instead of just doing little slant or bubble screens to maybe the fastest wide receiver who's ever played the game, and then just let him outrun everybody. So we'll see. On one side, he's got Tyreek Hill. Yeah. On one side, he's got Tyreek Hill. The other side, he has Jalen Waddle. So yeah, this all comes down to can Bill Belichick put up a defense that contains the outside weapons, right? Because Jalen Waddle can go deep. Obviously, we just talked about Tyreek Hill. So it's like, but I don't trust Tua against a Bill Belichick defense.
No. So something that I'm hoping is just our defense is strong enough to keep us into the game. I mean, Tua with his hips, I mean, for a quarterback, you really need those to get that ball out and get it to the to where you need it to get to. So I'm wondering, is there going to be a lot of underthrown balls, and Belichick is going to have those safeties bring in a little bit and let the over-the-top pass happen? Because if it's 40, 50 yards, 40 yards downfield, can Tua get that ball? I think it's going to be a big second half adjustment. Belichick will play it by ear, kind of see how it looks. But if Tua can't get the ball up and over, I'm sure that Belichick's just going to fill that middle part and say, try to beat my safeties and my corners over the top. Good luck. And then just keep them contained as that bend don't break defense, as we talked about last week.
Yep.
So that's kind of my hope for the game, defensive wise, is Tua just can't get the ball as far as he needs to, and then we just bottle up that middle and and don't let them get past that 10 yards. And they just have to try to beat us by a million cuts. So we'll see.
So now we said all that to where you're still picking the Dolphins, right?
I am.
Yeah, me too. But I do think this will be closer than people think. I don't think this will be a blow up by any means. I don't see this game getting like out of control. I just feel like it's what you said, like death by 1,000 cuts, or maybe they do try the deep ball and just realize it's not working, or maybe it does work and I'll be shocked, but I don't see that happening.
No,
So
I think it's going to be a low scoring game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Next up, maybe the most intriguing game that before the season really got going with the offseason stuff, nobody predicted would be as interesting as it turned out to be. The Browns at the Panthers being led by Baker Mayfield, the Browns being led by Jacoby Brissett. Obviously, Deshaun Watson out until what? Didn't we say the first 8 games, I believe? He's out.
I thought it was 11.
Oh, it's 11. Okay. So, well, we definitely know he won't be playing in this game. So Panthers, Browns, who you got, Casino?
I'm going with Panthers here. I think Baker comes out with I think he comes out with some vengeance here. Because I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
No,
at all.
And you look at his stats from last year. He actually had a pretty good season last year, but he had the injury that you could tell was like hindering him.
Yeah, I think right now they have it as a pick 'em, and I'm picking Panthers. I don't see, I don't see the Browns with everything they have going on in that organization are going to be head focused, ready to go for opening day, especially, and they are playing in Carolina, if I recall. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So like there's some weather there, and I just think Baker's got this. I think he's going to come out pissed and ready to show Cleveland, you shouldn't have got rid of me, and that it wasn't his fault on why that team is so bad.
Well, we're also seeing the return, obviously, of Christian McCaffrey. Like when he's on the field, he's a game changer, right? He can be your number one wide receiver. He can be the best running back in the league, but the thing holding him back has always been injuries.
Yeah.
So
we'll see if he stays healthy.
He looks to be healthy going into this season. We obviously have Mayfield with the revenge game. I've always liked DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. I've always liked Robbie Anderson. I think he's underrated, but it's come to that point where Robbie Anderson, when they were questioning getting Baker Mayfield or whatever, he said he didn't want Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield kind of seems like the type of guy to be like, oh, you didn't want me here? Like, then I'm not throwing the ball to you. Like, he seems like that guy. Like,
he can be petty.
But I also feel like Baker Mayfield definitely feels like the guy who has the grudge, who has the chip on his shoulder, who wants to throw 100 touchdowns on the Browns just to like do the chant and like maybe he flips off the sidelines. Maybe he just freaks out and does that running down the field, like, rah thing. So I don't see how the Panthers don't. I think the Panthers have an improved defense. I think their offense will be really good and definitely better under Baker than it was under Sam Darnold, or we saw PJ Walker last year had that one game.
Just McCaffrey staying healthy. If McCaffrey is 50% of what he normally is, that's still a top running back. So I don't understand why this is so close. To be honest. I don't know why they have it at the pick 'em. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to blow them out, but I don't understand why it's a pick 'em.
No, I don't either. I think the Panthers, especially in, like we've talked about, a weak NFC this year, I think the Panthers can surprise some people. We have a depleted Bucs team, a Saints team who knows what the hell they're going to be. And then you have Falcons contending for the worst team in the league. Like, why couldn't the Panthers win that division, get a wild card or something of that effect? I mean, we've seen Baker has led teams in the past to the Super Bowl. It's not like not the Super Bowl. I mean, the playoffs. It's not like he's some bum, quarterback or whatever. But so I think we're both picking the Panthers on that one. Let's go to the next one, which is Colts at Texans. I think this is just Colts with no real maybes for the Texans, right?
Correct. That's where I'm at. there's no shot.
No,
Unless
maybe
unless the Colts pull off what they did, last year's last game of the season where they just, oh, I can make the playoffs. Oh,
well, no, they got rid of the reason why that happened, which was Carson Wentz. I've lived the ups and lows of that quarterback. So yeah, now they have Matt Ryan, and maybe David Mills can put up something. But yeah, I think Texans are also going to be in that Bears Falcons mix with
run for the worst team.
Yeah. So I think the Colts I don't feel like this is going to be a blowout. I kind of feel like it's just going to be one of those things where you just can't stop the Colts, and it's just going to be slowly, just that score is going to be ever climbing. And then, yeah, by the time that game ends, you're like, wait, the Colts won 32-7. Like, oh, okay. Like that'll just be one of those games where I don't think really anything's going to come out of it. So next up, we have the Saints and Falcons. We obviously have Saints with the whole new look, basically team, got rid of Drew Brees, got rid of Sean Payton. Now they have Dennis Allen, the former Raiders coach, as the head coach, and Jameis Winston as the starting quarterback against just Falcons team led by Marcus Mariota, no Calvin Ridley, just a depleted, rebuilding Falcons team. So is this pretty much Colts Texan, but in the NFC?
Yeah, I think so. Because the Saints defense is still a good defense, even though, the offense looks completely different. But yeah, the defense, I think, is just at the bare minimum will win them this game. I just don't think Marcus Mariota, with what he has in Atlanta, is going to do anything.
No, I don't think the Falcons have really anything on offense. I don't know why. Everyone seems like they love Marcus Mariota, who's done nothing in the league. Like, I don't know if this is.
He still has one of the coolest touchdowns of all time. He threw it and caught it himself and got the touchdown.
Yeah.
So unless he does that for every single play down in the red zone, yeah, I don't think they have a shot.
And then also the New Orleans Saints, they have the returning Michael Thomas, who I think I saw something where he's like the number one choice to be NFL comeback player of the year. So I'm assuming it would be between him and Christian McCaffrey, right? Like those are the two like big profile names who could probably win that award. They also have Alvin Kamara, who everybody I feel like forgets that Alvin Kamara is still dealing with that off-season thing where he has like that hearing in like a month or whatever. So
yeah,
who knows if he still sticks around. He could be, suspended maybe mid-season. I don't know if that would happen, but I mean, it's a possibility. He's in like legal trouble. The NFL doesn't trump that. So
no.
I think this is
how much
just
the league thinks that they are the judge and executioner. They're not.
No. But so, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Saints all the way. I think it could be like very similar to the Colts Texans where the game ends and it's like 28-3. And again, I don't know who's watching this game unless you're a Saints fan. Even if you're a Falcons fan, I'd be like, next year. But man, we got 3 stinkers in a row because next up is Ravens at Jets. So we found out, we're recording this Friday morning, and the breaking news on the Ravens is that Lamar Jackson has not come to a new contract agreement. He's basically saying he's going to start the season without any new contract to speak of. So that might be a distraction for the Ravens, but I don't think it'll be even a big enough distraction to lose against the Jets, who are starting Joe Flacco.
Oh, Flacco.
Do we get the Baker revenge tour with Flacco going back to the Ravens?
No. He's too old. He's the Jets had no other options. With Wilson being injured, they had to go with Flacco, man. So
I mean,
it's not good.
Zach Wilson needs to get back on the field is just all his friends' moms' phone numbers, Maybe they can they have some ointments or something to help him and
help him relieve his stress. Out there.
Maybe some type of massages. I don't know. But so between the games we've talked about so far, 49ers, Bears, Colts, Texans, Saints, Falcons, Ravens, Jets, which do you think, if you had to put money on it, is going to be the biggest blowout for the obviously favored, bigger, better team?
Oh, man.
I think it's either 49ers and Bears or Ravens and Jets. I want to say Ravens, Jets, because I still have question marks about Trey Lance.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah,
you agree with me?
Raven. Yeah. I mean, it's between those two, but the Jets are just bad. They're just bad. And that's not me trying to be a Jets hater being in my division. That's just, they're bad.
Yeah.
They're in a rebuilding year every year for the last, how long?
Since Mark Sanchez.
Was it like, 2011, 2009, or whichever?
I was going to say 11. Yeah.
It was 11 when they beat out the Patriots for the playoff season that year.
Wasn't that also the butt fumble year, or was that the next year? That's when it all started falling apart.
I don't remember. It was right around that time, but that's why I smiled when we talked about that. The butt fumble.
And now, ironically, Zach Wilson is butt fumbling into his friend's moms. So it's like it's a Jets quarterback thing. I mean, who knows? But nice segue here to the Jaguars and Commanders, which Carson Wentz, maybe the only type of fumble or interception he hasn't done in his career is a butt fumble. Maybe we get that in this game. Maybe we get that in this season. So it's going to be Jaguars at Commanders. I think this has the potential to be a blowout. And I think we might see the Jaguars emerge as an AFC, I wouldn't say contender, but maybe playoff, maybe team that can vie for that last wild card playoff
bubble
spot.
Team there for the bubble spot. Yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, as we talked last episode, this is a much improved Jags team. They got rid of their cancer. They know what's they know what's going on, and Lawrence, he actually wants to win. He's out there to win. Even with all the distractions that he had last season, he was still out there competing every game, trying. So I think with everything that is now gone from that team and what they've acquired, I do think that they're going to be a much better team. I don't agree with you on being a blowout, but they're definitely gonna have a few plays in there, I think, where people are gonna be like, oh, whoa, okay, this team is definitely something we should watch.
Well, they also paid that big money to Christian Kirk in the offseason that kind of reset the wide receiver market. They got him from the Cardinals. They have the Travis Etienne, the wide receiver or the running back that's coming in. They got Marvin Jones. They have Zay Jones. They have Evan Ingram. I think they have an improved offensive line. I think if Lawrence can be even, like you're saying, maybe a quarter as good or better than he was last season, which how could he not be? This team, I feel like, is almost the Detroit of the AFC, which is they're going to surprise some people. They're going to punch some people in the mouth just coming right out of the gate. They have obviously the defense with Devin Lloyd, the Josh Allen defensive end or whatever, or the linebacker, I believe. And then they have people who can play on both sides of the field. But again, like you're saying, they were being coached by maybe the worst NFL head coach hire we've ever seen. And they still showed sparks of, oh, there's something here last year. Now they're being coached by my team's former coach, a Super Bowl champion, Doug Peterson. How can they not be better on all fronts of all fronts of the sides of the ball, where offense, defense, special teams, just by changing coaching?
Right. I totally agree with that.
So
there's nothing there you said that is I would change.
Yeah. And then on the Commander side, we obviously have Carson Wentz, who is not a bad quarterback. He just makes really dumb decisions I've never seen good quarterbacks make. So I feel like when you're
Tell me how you
betting,
really feel about Carson Wentz.
I will always love Carson Wentz for helping bring the first Super Bowl to the Eagles. I will always have a love-hate with Carson Wentz, because the hate comes from everything he did after that, which is he turned basically an entire team against him, made people choose sides, had like the most scandalous shit coming out of the locker room, being like, he's a dickhead, he doesn't like us, he doesn't like being coached, and just like turning what should have been an Eagles maybe playoff run where, you know, they could have potentially won or just been in contention for the next 2 Super Bowls after that. He almost single-handedly helped blow up that team. So I'll always love him for helping get the Super Bowl, but hate him for killing the potential of what could have been more. Like, right. So I can't really talk, without bias against him, because there's so much history with him. But just without bias, we've seen this on every team he's been on. He's going to win you a lot of games, but there's going to be weeks where him doing an interception or taking a sack that takes you out of field goal range or fumbling the ball, he's going to lose you at least 2 games a season from dumb quarterback play. So is this one of those times? Maybe. Who knows? But you're picking the Jaguars as well?
Yes.
Next up, we have an interesting and our first afternoon game, Packers at Vikings. So
this has the feel of who's going to win that division. Like, yep. Whoever wins this game wins the division, kind of feel to it. I'm really excited to see how this plays on out. Well, I'll let you start on this. Where do you think?
I mean, I think the Vikings are in contention for the best, especially what we saw from the Rams. They could potentially be the best team in the NFC. I think they will have the best offense. They obviously got rid of Mike Zimmer, him and Kirk Cousins just had, the weirdest relationship ever for a head coach and player. I believe it's Kevin Stefanski is the new. That
sounds right.
I believe it's Kevin Stefanski.
There were so many moves in this offseason. It's hard to keep track sometimes.
No, he's with the Browns. He's the Browns quarterback, or the Browns head coach. Let me see who the Vikings one is. Vikings head coach, Kevin O'Connell. Sorry. So he's the new Vikings head coach, and he's an offensive guy, which I feel like why I don't like the Patriots is they're the only team going defense first when everybody else is pivoting to offense. But I feel like if him and Kirk Cousins even have a cordial relationship, that's better than what he had with Mike Zimmer. You have Adam Thielen, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Dalvin Cook, you just have all the pieces in place to have like the most talented roster in the NFL, right? Like in terms of can score at will, and then their defense is nothing to sneeze at. So the Packers,
and then you flip it, and then the Packers have nobody.
Yeah, the Packers have, they're tied for the worst wide receiving offense in the league, right? Like, they have nobody. They have Valdez-Scantling. They have, and then a bunch of question marks. And even Valdez on most teams would be the 3rd or 4th wide receiving option. So, yeah, I just think, especially the Packers going into Minnesota, I think I'm picking the Vikings. The Packers also always start out slow. I believe last year they started 0-2 to start the season. So I just think, this is the Vikings division to lose.
So I still, going off of last week, I still have the Packers coming out on that one, or out of the division. But this game in particular, I think you're right. I think the Vikings will take it, but hopefully that sparks Rodgers, and so I can get that pick right for the regular season. But it comes down to those 2 teams in that division, and we'll see on that. But I mean, you nailed every point there, and I will take the Vikings this game. Going into Lambeau might be different. And then just through the season wise, I still would pick the Panthers. But that we're split on that decision.
So the looking up the Packers depth chart, they have Alan Lazar, who is doubtful for this game. They have Sammy Watkins, and then they have, do they not even have Valdez-Scantling even on their team anymore? Oh, I've been saying his name like I don't even know who these wide receivers are. Christian Watkins, Romeo Doubs, Samori Tor. Like Sammy Watkins is always injured. You have Randall Cobb, who was on his last legs 3 years ago. And then you have Alan Lazar, who's out of this game. So literally they're going to the field with Sammy Watkins, who can be good, but I don't know if he can be a number one. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Samori Tor. Like, who are any of these names? Who are, yeah. So I just don't think, I don't care how good Rodgers is, like, you're still not going to be able to score. So I don't know.
If he could get it to Aaron Jones is going to have to do quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think they'll figure it out throughout the season. But game 1 against the Vikings, where it kind of needs to be a must win, I think the Vikings, you're right, will take it with the higher powered offense there.
I'm right there with you. Next up, we have Giants at Titans. Maybe contender for the worst game this week. Like,
it's not going to be fun to watch.
No.
But I do take Titans. Again, I picked Giants to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
I'm not backing away from that. So yeah, I do think Titans will just kind of, they don't even need to play a good game. It's just can kind of, which team did you say with the Colts, where it's just like a slow uptick every quarter, where they just 3 points here, 3 points here, 10 points here. Like, it's just not.
And plus they're just going to have a healthy Derrick Henry who hasn't taken any hits yet. So what is the over under him getting 30 carries this game? Like, just running it down the throat of, I mean, they don't have anything to compete with that. They're still starting Daniel Jones. All right. So sorry, we had a little break there for Casino to do his parenting stuff. So yeah, we're back. And I just realized while we had that little break that Marquez Valdez-Scantling is on the Chiefs. So I could easily go back and edit out all the times where I said he was on the Packers, but I don't care that much. There's 32 teams. I'm probably going to mess up way more names. So let's just get it out in the open in the first 2 episodes.
Well, I mean, there was so many there was so much turnover and so many switches this season. I'm still trying to play catch up on it all.
Yeah. But again, he wasn't even the Packers, like a good Packers wide receiver. He's just him and the other guy, the Lazar. Those are the only 2 names I recognize. Like, they have all new wide receivers besides Sammy Watkins, who was injured most of last season. So yeah, just thought I would try to give myself a little leeway on that one. But let's do Titans, Giants. Let's just pick. I think we're picking both Titans, right?
Yeah.
So next up, 3 sneaky good games to end Sunday, just in how they're listed here. And then 1 Monday night game that has at least a storyline to it. So the 3 good Sunday midday games, which usually is, that's surprising because usually you don't get really any good Sunday afternoon games. We have first one, Raiders at Chargers. So rematch of the last week of the regular season last year, where the Raiders win on a last-second field goal to knock the Chargers out of the playoffs. Revenge game here. Raiders are going to LA. Who you got on this one, Casino?
Man, I don't know. As we talked about, this division is just stacked. So they have the Chargers minus 3.5 right now. I think I would lean Chargers just because it is at home, even though the Chargers don't really have much of the heavy fan base there. I think there's going to be plenty of Raider fans there.
Oh yeah.
But on just the sole fact of that it's in LA. Go Chargers. But it's too close. I mean, it's going to be a high scoring game, regardless. Both these offenses, I feel, are really, really stacked, and not saying anything about their defense. I just think this is going to be a very high scoring game. Very fun show. I mean, you have Vegas and LA, so you know, lights, camera, action for both cities. This is going to be a fun game to watch. What do you got for it?
Well, we're also going to see, I feel like this will be a big factor in it, which is JC Jackson is listed as questionable right now. So he's obviously their best cornerback on the Chargers. So if he doesn't play, then it's all Davante Adams game, right? Like you have Asante Samuel Jr., you have Derwin James Jr., like maybe they can help you, kind of try to limit what Davante Adams can do. But this is going to be the first game we see Davante Adams, the Derek Carr connection. They obviously have, from everything we've heard in the offseason, like it sounds like these two are happier to play with each other than maybe they've been happier to play with anybody. Davante Adams kind of taking slight little shots at Aaron Rodgers, which I know you and I, we respect Aaron Rodgers, but we're not necessarily the biggest fan of him, especially his life outside of football. He just seems like kind of an asshole. Like, I mean, just
kind of.
Well, I like wrestling. He really gives me CM Punk vibes. Aaron Rodgers gives me CM Punk vibes. But I think in terms of this game, we have, just a new look Raiders team, a new offense with Davante Adams, with the Josh McDaniels as their new head coach. So could we see the Raiders? Would it be an upset if the Raiders beat the Chargers here?
I mean, a lot of overreactions of that will be, yes, this will be a giant upset if that happens. But again, this division is so tough that I don't know. I mean, but I don't know how it's going to go with this division. But as we said, they're going to beat the crap out of each other the entire season. That this could potentially mean nothing, honestly.
Yeah.
Or it can mean everything. This is just going to be a fun. I really don't know what else to say about it besides it's going to be a fun game. I mean, both offenses are explosive. Which defense can hold up a little bit more than the other?
Well, I think the Chargers have a much better defense than the Raiders here. Obviously, the Raiders defense has to try to contain Herbert, which Herbert, it looks like to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. Like there's not much better than him. So Derek Carr is real hit or miss. I feel like he's still underrated for how good of a quarterback he is. But last year, I mean, that game, I believe, wasn't it the Chargers who were ahead that game by a touchdown or two, and then the Raiders were the ones that came back and won it. So maybe the Raiders, we've already seen the Raiders kind of have the Chiefs number, and we talked about this with the NFC West, and now this is the AFC West, where each team kind of has the other team's number. So from what we've seen, the Raiders look like they kind of have the Chiefs and Chargers numbers. And will that play into the season? Like, will that be a holdover from last season? I don't know, but I feel like I'm still picking the Chargers, even though I feel like I can make a compelling case for the Raiders.
Right. And if I recall right, I think I said I had the Chargers coming out of this division on top. But it's just going to be a fun show. But I think that the Chargers defense is just going to be the deciding factor here because both offenses are explosive, that the Chargers will just have the edge when it comes to this game and probably a lot of games down the line with that division.
Well, it's also, do you trust Josh Jacobs or do you trust Eckler on the Chargers? I don't really trust Josh Jacobs. He has those Cam Akers games where he'll get the ball 10 times and he'll rush for 8 yards. And you're just like, what happened to Josh Jacobs? Or was there ever a Josh Jacobs that will be, live up to the potential of a first round pick? We'll see. But I think, I think this is Chargers all day.
Fair enough. All right.
Next up, another sneaky good game, Chiefs at the Cardinals. So we have Kyler Murray. We have a Tyreek Hill-less Patrick Mahomes. Who you got for this one, Casino?
I still have the Chiefs coming out on top on this one, even though it is in Arizona. They have it at plus 6 for Arizona. I think Arizona's going to make it a closer game than that. I do think this is going to be settled by a field goal or maybe a field goal or two. I mean, yeah, they have them at 6, but it is going to be a closer game than most people probably think. The big note, as you said, Mahomes doesn't have Hill. What will happen with that? He's going to have to rely on a lot on Travis Kelce going down the middle. And if there's no real massive deep threat, what are really they going to worry about on the back end?
I mean, the Chiefs have my number one wide receiver, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So sky's the limit, but no. So they have,
but like they have the Juju Smith-Schuster thing, as we talked last episode. If he can give them any bit of down the line and just bring some of that safety, I think they'll be just fine. Kyler Murray is going to have, I think, a little bit harder of a shot to beat the Chiefs, even though it is at home.
And remember, Kyler Murray doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins. He's suspended the first 6 games. I believe he's the 6-game one. So he doesn't. Who does he have for his other weapons? He lost. Obviously, he lost Christian Kirk to the Jaguars.
Maybe they have Marquise Brown,
AJ Green. They have Zach Ertz, who feels like he's kind of much closer to over the hill than at his peak. So I don't know. But then again, we talked about this in last week's episode. The Cardinals always start out the season just on fire. Great. I could see a potential upset here where maybe the Chiefs take a couple weeks to kind of get in the flow of things. I still think there's way too many question marks with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I just don't see him as a number one running back. I just think there's better options out there. I could see the Chiefs going running back in the next draft. I just don't trust him as a number one back with no real number two. Like Jerick McKinnon, he's always been a pass catching out of the back wide receiver. I don't see him being a lead back who's taken 25, carries a game. What are your thoughts on Clyde Edwards-Helaire and that Chiefs running game? We obviously know the passing game has maybe the best quarterback in the game in Mahomes, but in terms of their running,
I mean, you got a good point there. I mean, the running game is kind of up in air, especially when you look over at the Cardinals. I mean, James Conner, you know what he is. That is a good point there. The running game will definitely be something to watch for the Chiefs, and if they don't get that going, and again, they don't have that heavy hill over the top, they may struggle a little bit with offense. But if we've seen anything with Mahomes, even though we don't we don't really agree with that kind of running like backyard school football kind of thing, he still can get it done. He's one of those random flukes that can do that sort of thing. So even if his running game's not rolling and Edwards is not really proven to what he should, what he was doing last year for him, then he's going to have to get a little bit, because who's their backup running back?
It's the Jerick McKinnon.
Oh yeah, McKinnon. Yeah, and then after that, there's not much. And then McKinnon, you're right. He's always been that kind of catch out of the backfield kind of guy. That's something that I've always, whenever with my fantasy team, I would pick him because he was getting a lot of those touches and being that kind of toss off to the slant there and get him to run. But a true running back, if Edwards doesn't produce, then they may have an issue with that. They may have a problem.
Well, and then the diamond in the rough, the potential, like you're hearing out of camp, like, ooh, this guy might be, a good wide receiver that's kind of catches people off guard, is Sky Moore, you hear, is apparently a player. He had a good preseason. So could he be the deep threat the Chiefs may be missing? I mean, I don't think any of those questions will be answered in this game one, but it'll definitely be I feel like much closer game one, because I feel like going into this game, there's just more question marks with the Chiefs than there are with the Cardinals, but we all saw how the Cardinals season ended and it wasn't good. But then again, that Bengals game, the Bengals Chiefs game, is what has been what a lot of people have said is one of the weirdest NFL games I've ever watched. Like, how the fuck did the Bengals win that game? Like, there's question marks. So, but are you still picking the Chiefs casino?
I am.
I'm going the upset. I think it's going to be Cardinals. I'm picking Cardinals. So next up, we have 2 games left. Weird that this is the first year I can remember in a long time where we only have one Monday night game. That seems weird, right? There's only one Monday night.
Yeah, there's the one Monday.
I feel like Raiders Chargers should have also been Monday night, but maybe because the Monday night game is already a West Coast game, but I don't know. So next up, we have our Sunday night game, which is Buccaneers and Tom Brady at Cowboys. So who you got on this one, Casino?
Ooh, I don't know. Dallas. I don't trust that team, and Brady's Brady, but I think I might pick Dallas on this one. That would be the upset on it, but I think Dak has a lot to prove this season, especially with his big old contract that he has. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'm leaning Dallas. I could be crazy, but that's where I'm rolling with.
I just think the only thing Tampa Bay really has going for them is obviously Tom Brady. I feel like you give him or Belichick prep before a season. Like, Tom Brady has quietly owned the Cowboys every time he's played in Cowboy Stadium. It's just one of those teams like that team. And I think it's the Broncos. He just has like an insane record against. For some reason, he just owns those 2 teams like that are outside of his division that, like were teams he would just randomly play throughout his career. So I trust Tom Brady going into a big primetime game. I think the Cowboys and the loss of, who was it? The loss of Tyron Smith on the offensive line, I think is going to be a really big factor, because the Cowboys used to have one of the top 3 offensive lines in the league, right? Then they would just run the ball down your throat with Ezekiel Elliott. You give Dak Prescott time to find all of his weapons. Well, Ezekiel Elliott's definitely on the downside of his career. His seasons have gotten worse and worse every year. Tony Pollard, is, I don't know, he's a better running back at this point, but I don't think they can justify sitting Ezekiel Elliott behind him because of how much they're paying Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
But
they kind of went downhill for Zeke when he got that tattoo.
I mean, you could probably connect the dots from him being good to him being bad right after that tattoo. But the Cowboys, Michael Gallup's out this game. It's literally just CeeDee Lamb. They obviously traded Amari Cooper to the Browns. They lost Cedric Wilson in the offseason. So their offense is basically going to be a beat up Ezekiel Elliott on the downslope, a beat up offensive line, a CeeDee Lamb, who we've never seen be wide receiver 1, right? He's always been wide receiver 2 behind all the attention getting to Amari Cooper. And then you have Dalton Schultz as their tight end. Nobody on their defense really scares you. They have DeMarcus Lawrence and I guess they have Vandershek and then who's the Micah Parsons. Like, they have those 3 guys, but those 3 guys are all up front. So their back end, they have nobody who scares you. I feel like this is going to be one of those things where, Trevon Diggs last year had all those interceptions, but most of those felt lucky. And the other time, if he wasn't catching interceptions, he was just getting annihilated. So sure, he can pick off Brady once, but the rest of the game, I feel like Brady's just going to feast on this secondary. I mean, you still have Mike Evans, who on the Dallas Cowboys is going to be the one to stop Mike Evans?
They don't have too much on that cornerback. They do have Trayvon Diggs and Uh, who else was there? Anthony Brown. No.
Well, and then also we forgot to mention that the Buccaneers picked up Julio Jones this offseason. So who knows? First game of the season, this might be a Von Miller thing where, yeah, Julio Jones might be past his prime, but he hasn't been hit. The season hasn't been going. This might be a Julio Jones game. I mean,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I had to pick one crazy game. So I'm going to go with Cowboys here.
See, I feel like this was my Chiefs Cardinals pick of me picking the Cardinals over the Chiefs. So I think I'm still going Buccaneers, even though I don't like either of these teams, just in terms of offensive lines, defense, like depleted weapons, even though the Buccaneers got better weapons, but everybody just on that team, all the wide receivers just feel so much like older. Like, yeah. Next up, we have the last game of this week, Monday Night Football, Broncos and Russell Wilson going into Seattle. And this is the Baker Mayfield Panthers going to the Browns, or Browns going to the Panthers. But we get to see Russ go back to Seattle. Seattle is starting Geno Smith. So it is Geno Smith versus the powerhouse, Geno Smith versus Russell Wilson on Monday Night Football. How make the case for how the Seahawks win this game? What has to happen?
Yeah, there's my case. My kid laughed at that one too.
I mean, it just has to be Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf going off, right? Like that's the only hope they have.
But here's the thing: is do you trust Geno Smith to get it to him?
No,
I don't. Not at all.
Your child finds the prospect of Seahawks winning hilarious.
Yes.
But maybe Pete Carroll has some I know how to stop Russell Wilson mindset plan in the back of his head, but I just think this is Broncos all day. And then you get my Super Bowl pick, the Denver Broncos. You get the emergence of them on Monday night as like, oh shit, the Broncos are for real. Russ is back. Russ is cooking. Like, I think this has potential to be blowout of the week.
Yeah. I don't see any chance for Seattle. Wilson is going to come out. He's in a different scheme now. He's not with the whole Pete Carroll thing. He's going to be able to throw the ball to where he wants and to who he wants. I think Russell Wilson's going to be completely revitalized playing in Denver. He's going to come out and just slay it.
Yeah, I agree. And that is our week 1 previews / picks. So for college football on Saturday, this seems like a really down week. I mean, really the big game this week is Alabama at Texas, but I think Alabama steamrolls them. Maybe Kentucky, Florida ranked 12th, Kentucky ranked 20th. Other than that, nothing really going on this week in the world of college football.
Well, it all started off on week 1. That week 1 was just absolute. I mean, you start off with like 3 versus 11, and
yep. Well, we saw also that just Oregon Georgia game where Oregon already in midseason form getting absolutely annihilated by another ranked team. So we do this with Oregon every year. Like, I'm an Oregon fan, but we do it where Oregon gets all this hype. They're a top 5 team in the league, and everybody's giving Oregon all this blowjob preseason credit. And then the first ranked team they play, they get absolutely annihilated. And then they win the next 11 games. And everybody's like, Oregon's back. And then they get into their first playoff game. And then they get absolutely annihilated again. And then we just do it all over. It's
the jerseys, man.
Done with Oregon.
Everybody just loves the jerseys.
I'm done with them.
Everybody gets hard on that.
So college football, nothing really to talk about this week, but Casino wanted to end the show talking about the WNBA. So a sport that I know nothing about. I know the Las Vegas Aces, which is where we're recording from, Las Vegas. I know they are in the finals, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. So they beat the Seattle Storm, ending Sue Bird's career in Seattle. In the WNBA, she's now done. And that one felt like the actual finals to me. It was a best of 5 series. It went 4 games, but every game was absolutely close. And if you want to just see some amazing basketball, just amazing sports, watch the ending of game 3 between the Aces and the Seattle Storm. There was like a collective of like 11, 12 points scored.
I have my child coming in. Here, come here. Come here. Okay, sorry. Keep going, Casino.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was great. And so now we're in, and then an upset on the other bracket to face now the Aces in the NBA final. We have the Connecticut Sun upsetting the Chicago Sky. Still a really good team, obviously, but did not really expect them to upset Chicago. I thought it was going to be the Storm, Chicago, or Vegas winning the tournament. But Asia Wilson just got announced as MVP again for another time for the Aces. She's absolutely on fire. And I just feel like, not being just because I am from Vegas, I think the Aces take this whole thing. I don't think they'll sweep the Connecticut Sun, but I do think they'll actually bring the first professional sports championship to Vegas. I know the Knights got close to it, in their first year. But yeah, it's going to be quite exciting. We got Sunday game 1. Stupid. They did it at 12 p.m. So it's game
smack
1
dab in the middle of the NFL games.
Smack dab in the middle of the season. Doesn't make any sense. I'm quite upset about that. But it's going to be a pretty dang good series. Still, I'm kind of excited for it. And so we'll be touching on some of the NBA finals here, the WNBA finals. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Bye, buddy.
But yeah, I will watch. I'll probably watch the Tuesday game. I obviously won't watch the Sunday game, but I'll watch the Tuesday game. We can talk about it. This is the most the WNBA has ever been talked about on a sports podcast. So, but we're also, before NHL starts, before NBA starts, we'll do a season preview like we did with the NFL. I'm a big NBA guy. I know you're a big NHL guy. I'm kind of like, NHL is my third favorite behind NFL and NBA, but I'm getting really into it this year, Casino. Baseball is really the only sport that I can
help you there.
I can never get into. You have any hot baseball takes before the playoffs start in October?
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Wasn't prepared for this question. Everybody was all hot on the Yankees. And I just think, the Yankees have gone downhill. They're still going to win the division outright. They're still crushing. They're still, what is it here? 4.5 games above any other team in the AL East. Pretty much at this point, I mean, we can touch more baseball another day, but it's the Dodgers' year to lose. The Dodgers are 94-42. It's their year to lose. And I don't really think many teams coming out of the AL is going to have much of a chance. You have the Astros, Yankees, and surprisingly, the third best team. They're all wild card spots. So, yeah, that's kind of. I'll just leave it at that for now. We can touch on baseball another day and do a little bit more in depth review on that when we have more time.
Yeah, I think this is my son telling me that we are done, Casino. So
if we have to edit this part out.
No, this is all staying in. This is all staying in. But yeah, we will talk more about the MLB right before the playoffs start. So this was mostly just because NFL starting this weekend, and yeah,
we will be NFL heavy, typically podcast and NBA, but we will like to touch on everything else.
Well, I think we'll also talk a lot of NHL once the Knights get going and stuff like that. So, yeah, sky's the limit there. Casino, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
finger guns.
All right.
Yeah.
This was episode 2 of the Balls and Bros podcast. You can find the video version on YouTube, all the audio versions, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So,
and you can leave any sort of review, tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. We will probably not listen to any of it, but
the big, apparently we're big in the United States, but our second biggest market right now is Belgium. So thanks for everybody. For some reason, there's like 5 people who downloaded our first episode in Belgium. So
thank you guys.
Thank you for that. We're huge in Belgium. And my son is telling me to get off. So yeah, adios casino.
Bye, Beach.